What's up guys, I'm randomfrankp. Today we're going to be reviewing the NZXT H1 small form factor PC case. A few days ago on the channel, I did a full build inside, so if you haven't checked that out, definitely do so. But today, all the stuff you're going to want to know about a case before you pick it up, what I like about it, what I don't like about it, specs, thermals, all that kind of stuff. So first up, just checking it out, the H1 is a 13.6 liter small form factor ITX case that stands 387.7 millimeters tall and 187 millimeters wide and at diameter. And I know I have it in the background here, but like, look at this. It's super compact. But we're not just getting the case here. Included already is a 650 watt SFX 80 plus gold modular power supply that has pre-routed cables, a 140 millimeter AIO, and an included Gen 3 PCIe riser card for your GPU. So yes, not just the bare bones case, we actually have hardware included that's already pre-mounted and pre-routed, which is gonna save you a lot of time when it comes to building. With that being said, the case is $350. However, you figure the PSU, the riser cable, and the AIO, if you were to price those individually in terms of equivalent hardware, including the case, you would find that it is definitely neck and neck with equivalent hardware out there if you were to pick it up and buy it by yourself. But also, since you have more parts here, not just the case itself, you're probably curious about the warranty because there's more, more opportunity for things to go wrong. The case and the AIO have a 3-year warranty, and the power supply is an extended 10-year warranty. So really nice that NZXT thought about that and really, extended it. And in terms of visuals, I do like the look of the case overall. It definitely has that, NZXT case look to it in terms of similar design language to their previous cases. And while yes, it's an ITX build, you're not gonna be really bringing this with you in a backpack or anything. It's more so meant to be a nice addition to your desktop. In terms of physical features and your IO, the power button is on the top of the case, and we have a USB Type-C, a USB Type-A, both are USB 3.2, and then a 4-pole headphone jack. But also inside the box, they include a splitter for your headphone and a microphone if you have like a headset or something like that. So yeah, it's definitely limiting and kind of a bummer since that's really the only accessible spot to access the ports. I wish they would have had two, like, either just 2 Type-A's or 2 Type-C's, and maybe even include an additional dongle or like an additional dock like they did with the headphone jack, so if there were Type-C's up top, we could have an extended dongle to plug in more things. Now, as for the actual frame itself when it comes to assembly, the front tempered glass just pops off at the bottom, as well as the back panel, and that accented white frame comes off by just sliding it up off the integrated rails. So yeah, very easy. Disassembly is toolless as well, as you saw, so there's no thumb screws, just popping the panels in and out. The 3 sides are designed for airflow with perforation, and inside of the interior on the left and right panels, we have a removable magnetic dust filter on each side. And then getting inside to the motherboard tray is as simple as taking out just these 2 screws up top, which keep the radiator pretty much locked into place. That is held on by this swinging hinge, so when you're building and stuff, you can keep it out of the way. And when I first started building this, it really was just a breath of fresh air because with those pre-routed cables already there, it saves you a lot of time. Everything is held down with zip ties and Velcro straps for better cable management. And in the end, it's just gonna make your build experience that much easier. We do have standoffs built into the actual steel frame, so you want to screw those in by yourself. And as you see, there's about 4 or 5 stickers inside the case that are meant to, give you a heads up and guidance when you're building. And it's a nice gesture for sure, but I 100% hate paper stickers when it comes to taking them off. 3 of them left behind residue. I wish companies would just use vinyl stickers instead of paper, but it's not just an NZXT thing, this is pretty common. So included stock for the AIO is the bracket and mount for Intel CPUs, but since in my build video I went with a Ryzen chip, I had to assemble the bracket with the included hardware. It was very easy. And then I also had to go back to my motherboard box to get the stock brackets that came with my board. Since I'm reusing this motherboard from a previous build that I use a different cooler on, I didn't need those brackets, so keep in mind if you're doing an AMD build, you're gonna have to use them as well in addition to the included mount. So once your main hardware is all installed and you realize at the blink of an eye you're pretty much almost done already, one thing I did want to point out is that the cables are a bit snug. Obviously with them being pre-routed and stuff, this is probably all done in bulk in a factory, but my 24-pin motherboard cable just barely fit. They did say that after launch, they're going to be going back and extending the length of the cables just a little bit so it's not as snug, making your build process that much easier. And also, like I said, we have a Gen 3 riser cable inside. Another thing they're going to be changing going forward is as X570 motherboards become more of the norm, they're going to be including a Gen 4 riser as well. Then speaking of our GPU, flipping the internal frame over is where we can vertically mount our graphics card. It fits up to a 305mm or 12-inch card in length, up to 2.5 slots. So odds are your GPU is gonna fit just fine, which is definitely a good thing because a common problem with ITX cases like this is a GPU size restriction. And I gotta say, shout out to NZXT for having that riser cable pre-bent and pre-routed. Can't tell you how many times in the past I've went to build an ITX PC and just the riser cable is too stiff and it's either, just hitting part of the frame or hitting other components. Thank you. And for hard drive space, we have a bay behind the power supply for mounting two 2.5-inch SSDs. And the last thing I wanted to mention about the actual build process is the slight limitation we get when it comes to RAM size, not Ramstein. The height clearance for RAM is 44mm, so any sort of high profile RAM won't really fit when you go to close the fan and radiator back into the case. I used Corsair Vengeance RGB Pro RAM. That's around 50mm tall, and it did kind of fit. It was just barely touching against the fan, but I just decided to ditch that and go for some HyperX RAM because I'm not going to be needing any RGB anyways, little spoiler. And then just like that, once everything is installed and connected to your power supply, you also have this power supply cover, which kind of hides those cables there. You screw the radiator back into the frame, pop on those side panels, slide back on the top accented panel, and then just like that, you are done. Super clean looking all around, but wait a second. Where can we hook this up to our monitor? And where's our motherboard ports? Well, a little annoyance is that it's all underneath the actual case. So anytime you wanna, plug something in and out, you're gonna have to tilt it backwards to have access. And the cables get routed out the back side of the case since our motherboard is held around 3 to 4 inches up. So the cables won't get bent or anything against your desk. But again, I just recommend a dongle or a slim USB dock to hang out the backside just for convenience. So you're looking at the case right now and I know what you're thinking. You want some tacos right now. But you're also thinking, well, I can't really see inside. Yeah, so really with the tempered glass, it's a nice addition and all, both in terms of quality and visuals, but there's just no point. All you really see is the glow from our 2080 Ti, and even if someone were to install, RGB light strips or have RGB accents from their motherboard, it really just wouldn't be on display. You're just looking at the right side of the inner frame facing forward, so it's kind of a bummer and a big letdown when you have this, really clean build on the inside, great cable management, and you turn it on, you don't really see anything. It's kind of a letdown in the end, I do wish, I know it's not really possible, but if that internal frame could be mounted on any of the 4 sides so we could have something like a GPU facing forward, but then again with the tempered glass it would be choking and thermals would be even worse. So I understand, I just wish there was more of some goods on display. But yeah, speaking of performance and thermals, let's talk about that real quick. So I went over this in my actual build video, but for my specs, I'm using a Ryzen 9 3950X CPU with a 2080 Ti. And the whole thing around using that was because, there's an included 140mm AIO. And the minimum recommendation for a 3950X is a 240. So I wanted to see worst case scenario, how this case could handle that. So I did a few different tests. I started playing Battlefield 5, and then in Afterburner, I capped my 3950X at 4.2 gigahertz. Because at 3440 by 1440p, at the highest graphical settings, I was still getting 100 plus FPS, and we don't need the full power of the CPU. And temps, again capped at 4.2 gigahertz, we're averaging only around 56 degrees Celsius, which is definitely pretty good, but it's the GPU at 83 degrees that's the main concern when gaming. So it was good to see the AIO working effectively, even though we're not fully pushing our CPU. But yeah, that GPU is definitely going to be a problem. And then what I did was I just did a full stress test on the build. For the CPU, I used Burn and Test V9 Pro, and our GPU was tested in FearMark. So uncapped, our CPU got up to 93 degrees Celsius, and our GPU up to 88 degrees Celsius. So yeah, this thing, again, with this hardware, worst case scenario, it definitely got pretty hot. But then after seeing that, I manually set all the fans to 100%, and the GPU cooled off significantly, averaging 67 degrees Celsius. But obviously, everyone's not going to be using that hardware inside, so NZXT supplied their own thermal comparisons between other popular ITX cases. So this was good to see because they use a more, popular i7 8700K for their CPU than with a GTX 1080 Ti for their graphics card. But they stacked the H1 against the N-Case M1, the Ghost S1, and the Fractal Node 202. The hardware was the same for all 4 builds, but with different coolers in each. So the H1 had the included 140mm AIO that averaged 70.3 degrees Celsius, and then for the CPU, 74.6 degrees. Then checking out the other cases like the N case and the Ghost S1, which both used a Kraken X52, which is a 240mm AIO. And then the Node 202, which used a CryoRig C7. And the results are pretty impressive, and I'd say in favor of the H1. For the closest comparison here, I'd say it's right up there with the Ghost S1, but that also included their additional $89 for the top hat, which extends the space for the radiator. And I'll do an ambient sound test now so you could hear how this sounds while I was gaming and then while idle on desktop. So using recommended hardware, as you saw, the H1 does pretty good in terms of temperatures for just using a 140mm AIO. But in my case, in my particular build, the main issue comes with the lack of external fans, because the GPU gets pretty hot. And the reasoning for that is because it's getting trapped behind the GPU and the frame itself. There's nothing to help kind of dissipate that heat and push it out of the case. So an external fan would have definitely done this case nice, but there was really not a lot of room for it, which is a bummer. Another thing I wanted to touch on is the fact that there really is no need for NZXT cam, which for a lot of people is going to be a big plus. I know for me, I always had problems with cam, but because the AIO doesn't connect, the pump and the fan doesn't connect over USB, it just gets plugged into the motherboard headers. There's no need for that USB integration, so you don't need cam. Another thing I saw all throughout my build video the other day was there was one pretty much common theme. People wish they would just sell the case. And that's understandable because yes, with that included hardware inside, you are paying for that hardware. So if you did have, your own SFX power supply or a 140mm AIO, you're gonna be, spending, again, that same price. But I really don't think $350 for everything here, the case and the hardware, is that bad. Something going forward, I think that they should do and probably will do is either sell, additional panels for this. So like if I want to get rid of the tempered glass and have another, perforated panel on the front here, that would be good because we would be getting better thermals. And also, again, since nothing's on display, there's just no reason to have tempered glass. Even though it looks nice, it's not really worth it, and we're paying extra, just to have that tempered glass. So if they could sell additional panels, offer this without hardware, or offer this without tempered glass for a cheaper price, that would be great. And I have a feeling this case is gonna be very, very popular. There's nothing like this on the market right now that's doing it as good as the NZXT H1 is doing. So in terms of a small form factor ITX build for your gaming desk or gaming setup, this absolutely takes the cake. Some, RAM clearances, stuff like that throughout the build, yes, I mentioned that. But all in all, great job from NZXT. I could see this coming in tons of different color combinations, customization stuff in terms of, accents. Really pumped to see where this goes in the future and how this helps influence the market. So guys, that'll wrap it up from my review of the NZXT H1 case. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget, if you haven't already, check out my full build video that I did the other day using this case, the 3950X and the 2080 Ti graphics card. Well, if you like this video, give it a big thumbs up to show your support. Feel free to follow me on Twitter at randomfrankp. And lastly, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. I hope you enjoyed. Have a good day.